Okay, guys, so just sitting here and I'm actually fitting the arches right now. But as I was doing it, I was thinking what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to have two radiuses of a plaster coat. One radius is going to be like this, and the other radius is going to go like this. So it's a double radius. Deep is the corners. And I could do this above, throw some plaster up there, but the corners being so deep, I don't want to use that much mud. Secondly, I have a problem in my neck where I have range of motion issues because of fibromyalgia. I can't even bend my neck back up to look at that really high. So what I decided is I'd make the boxes. I'm going to take the box down, and then I'm going to come over here onto the table. The other thing is, by putting the box up right now, I have drawn this radius. The plaster doesn't come out to the radius because I've got about 4 inches of reveal where if you look in the inside, you're going to see this arch. I don't want to cover it all up with plaster. What's the sense? So what I did was I made this box. I already did this one. I took it down. Let me show it to you. Okay, so far, what I did when I had it up there, like I did the other one, was I drew the radius on it. Then I subtracted 4 inches from it. So this is actually the plaster radius. I still want stone, revealed. I don't want to cover the interior of the stone. So this is just the absolute maximum. Here is the bottom where it's upside down right now, obviously, but this is the bottom. So it's going to start from 0 here. And as I've already started, I did an arch here, or a curve, a radius. I'm just playing with that. I'm not actually done yet. Okay, so I went down to the shop and I've got a huge different kind of foam pieces that I've gathered over the years. I got these out of Lowe's. They're basically 18 by 12 by 12, and I got like 20 of them out of the dumpster at Lowe's. I don't know what they were using them for, but they have them. So anyway, what I did was I basically cut one of them already in half, and that gave me my 2 pieces that'll be allowing me to make this 3 pieces. I still got to cut this one down, but this way here, when I go to put those in, because the arch is there and it's out about right here, so you got to be able to glue this one in. Same with that one, and then you can bring this one in from the front. The other thing I chose these particular blocks for out of all the other ones I have is that this is 11.5, these are 12, so it was perfect for that because I'm going to start out with 0, go to my radius, and then back down to 0. I'm just going to use the great foam to stick these to the ceiling and the wall when I get them profiled, and then in between as well, the 3 pieces will all be one. It won't come down, it'll be hard pressed there, and then I'll basically fiber mud it over the top and give it a texture, and there I'll have my 2 radius arches. Anyway, stick with me. Okay, you can see making great progress here. There's not a damn arch up one anywhere. I've got the boxes I got with the foam that I've showed you. I got those made, and I had to have the arches down to put them back up and blah, blah, blah. And then I was getting ready to mount arches, and then I go, well, I've got to have my conduit from this center wire right here, up there in the top, that center wire. This is a junction box. When the light comes out, it'll be, you pull the light out, you've got access to your wiring. So above these rocks, you're going to see it shining, but I've got to get that done and installed before I can do the arches. Now, the other thing is, this is a light system that is, and you can see it right there, I've got it up. It's waterproof, it's outdoor use. But I still, if this gets any water in it, I want a drain. I have about that much in there right now that's not mudded, just a panel sticking up. So I'm gonna make a trough in here that drains from here to here, and it'll drain down between the arch rock and this rock. It'll just be a natural drain. This is gonna slope this way. This will slope this way. This will slope this way. These two can just slope whichever way because they're short. But they need to be conditioned, and this light needs to be installed. So I took all the arches down. I was starting to mount them up, and I was thinking about putting the conduit in later. No, I got to do that right now. But just to show you, there we go. So you can see there's going to be, this is obviously going to be that plaster that's radiused out of those boxes. and the arches will keep the light in this bay, in this bay, in this bay. So the 4 bays are going to have their own light, and it should accent the arches really nice. But that's something I've got going right now. And again, you can change the color between, you know, any color you want. And I kind of like this one the best. That's the one I like, but between this one and that one. Anyway, I've got to get all that worked out, and then I can start installing the arches and the octagon and get all that going. So stick with me. Bye. Okay, so as I told you, I took out the arches because I needed to make not only the conduit run, but I needed to create a trench, a trough that would it'd be shaped like this. I basically cut some lumber that had about a 6-degree angle on it, and my light strip will sit inside of that, and I think it's only going to be about 1 inch deep. But I don't want to see that light from the, you know, onset of the view here. So as you can see, this is pitched right from the center, where if any water gets up there, it's just going to drain between the 2 rocks, this rock and the arch rock, and it'll drain out naturally, won't hold water up there. So I've got all these pitched. This one I think is just pitched that way. This end one's pitched this way, but those are all now trough made. I'm going to pull that out tomorrow, and then I'll be able to put my arches back in, run my conduit. I only need conduit in between the arches, and then up here to the ceiling. So that's going to be one, and then up here to the ceiling, because there's 2 light strips that are going in here. But that's what I'm doing now. As soon as I get that done, I'm going back to the arch, the octagon, get that all made. Again, this is going to be a junction box, the octagon. When you take the light cover off, or the LED light, you just got to grab it. If I can do it one-handed. Watch the spring on that. Where is that? Right there. And out it comes. And then you can get to your wiring. You put your hand in there. It's going to be 4 inches thick as far as a void area off the ceiling. That's my junction box, not just to hook up this light, but to actually hook up the light for the one strip lighting here, 1 strip lighting there. So that's my junction box, the octagon is. But what I'm going to do is, after I get the conduits, I made it today. I got to take these sticks out. Then I've got to cement in place the conduit here and here, and then the conduits up on each end. Then I can install the arches, and I'll be right back with you. Talk to you. Okay, so I just thought I'd show you up here. It's kind of hard, but you can see the trough. That stubble there is going to be ground out tomorrow, but this is now a nice drainable trough that goes towards the 2 rocks, and again, it'll just drain out naturally. So I'll show you some more here momentarily. Okay, I thought I'd show you a side profile here. This is all casted from yesterday, and it's smooth. I'm still going to come in here and smooth it out a little bit more with a paste, the Hydro Seal paste, making it waterproof. And the plaster actually starts for this box between the 2 arches. The plaster starts right here at 0 and goes up to the radius this way. And then we're going to have a radius this way, but this will actually be mudded too. So this will all be nice and smooth and watertight. And then I'll put the clips on this to hold this down right in the center, and it'll be a done deal. So I'm getting ready to try and run the conduit for those runs, and I'll be back with you. Okay, so now what I've done, I'm trying to run the conduit up in the ceiling and then have it come out on this level. And it was not working. So basically I've cut out an area, and I've made a template that I'm going to make a box that I can actually pour a box of cement and stick it up in there and mount it to this joist right here. And that'll give me a recess above that I can run this conduit into it and this conduit into it, and it'll be in the ceiling and recess. So when I put my hand up through the octagon, I'll be able to plug in and unplug the lights. There are 3 systems, the 2 rope lights and then the center light. So I've now, my 3rd attempt, I've come up with this idea for a box. And what I've done is just made a box, and I'm going to tape it together. It's taped on the surface, so when I put the mud in the box, it won't stick to the form. I'll take it out, put the box up and mount it, and then I'll run my conduit through it. So I should be getting back to the arches here pretty quick. That's one of the reasons I like templating and making out of cardboard. I've got the item in my hand. It's something that's in my mind. Now it's in my hand and I can actually apply it and play it and see how it fits. Again, the reason for this whole box is that I have area in the ceiling to run my conduit in. Also gives me a box that's going to be watertight up in the wood floor. This is a first story above me. I'm in the second story downstairs. But anyway, this I don't want getting wet. The green board's supposed to give you some preservation of moisture control and also the shower itself once I build it. But redundantly, I don't want water getting up in there. And with the steam room, steam is going to find any little hole that it can and get up in there, putting moisture where you don't want it. So, okay, so I've got my box and I thought to myself, well, this box is going to be about a 1/2 inch smaller than this form. So this form is about a 1/2 inch bigger in each direction. And I thought to myself, will this box fit up there? I mean, I've only got so much room. So I took the box and I can easily fit it up in there. And then it's going to be screwed to this joist right here and it sits on top of the drywall. The other thing is I was shy of cutting back to the actual line of the octagon that will be put up here. And once I've casted this box, I'll cut it right to the box up here, this drywall, and my other octagon will seat up against it. I'm planning on having a seal, rubber seal, so when I do put it up there, it will be watertight. But anyway, now I just gotta cast the box and get it going. All right, so I got my box all casted, 1/2 inch thickness with the mesh. Gonna let that dry. And then I had a little bit of mud left, so I made the strips of panels that would be on the octagon. Everywhere the arches meet, there are 4 sides that the arches meet, and you're not gonna see any rock there, but I need a panel to make the box to mud it all together. So these are just smooth on the table. I put down a piece of cardboard that was taped and I used a 1/2 inch, it's actually 7/16 of a screed form to make a perfect thickness. And those will be for my 4 areas that you don't see the rock. Stick with me. All right, so while I'm waiting for that box up there to dry, I just installed the arches. I'm getting ready to mud them, but before I did, I wanted to try the conduits that I ran in between the arches. So this is the light and they're not screwed down yet to where, you know, some of the track is not real oriented right, correct, but yet it's still, you can see what I was saying about lighting between the bays. It's when it gets refined, it'll be even better. It's just like that light up here is shining that way instead of straight up. And I'll make that correction once I put the clips on that hold it perfectly. But I just wanted to try it. Right now, let me turn this light back on. I took the time to mount the arches, obviously. But also, if you can see in there, you can see the conduit that runs between, so the light, because the light comes from over here and it runs all the way over to this side over here. So I needed a conduit in here, and I also have one over in here for this side so that I can run from, and I'll try and make that smaller now. I obviously run the conduit. Right now it's just ran like this, but there's a conduit that goes here, allows me to go through here, and then it terminates before it goes to that other arch, right to the end. So that's all ready to go. So the next process here is simply going to mud these to where they're basically full. I'm going to use some styrofoam mud. I'm going to mud them up against the walls where they grab that mesh and they stay steadfast. They're screwed into the joists that are above. They're also screwed 2 screws into this, 2 screws into that. So there's 4 screws holding it into the wall. And then up in the ceiling, there's 2 screws as well per arch. But once those arches get mudded and that octagon that gets in there, I don't care what screws or how, if it was mudded to the wall, it would be physically impossible for those to move, because that's the whole thing about an arch. At any rate, the hexagon is almost like a keystone type of a thing, but I've got that box drying right now. I made my run for this one, so I know what I'm doing there. I put the box up, I run these conduits, I'm done. I can start doing my plaster styrofoam that I was working on earlier. It's all, you know, making progress. It's just slow. Stick with me. Okay, so I just vacuumed the whole, all the mesh and everything, and then I washed down just where I'm mudding the 3 different arches, and it's drying right now. I'm gonna start mixing some mud and throwing it in there. Stick with me. All right, well, I mudded the arches together and to the wall, all 3 of them. Worked on the conduit there. You can barely see it here, but it's all mudded. And tomorrow I'll be mudding more. This conduit, it was a little tricky trying to get it to stay. It's a little wet still, but anyway, more mudding tomorrow. All right, well, this morning I started to demold this, and I made it about 3/4 of an inch instead of half. I didn't mean to, it's just the way it came out. But one thing I was looking at that I thought I'd show you is look at the sheen on that. This is a mold or a form, but the tape on it has transferred into the casting, and it's really shiny and smooth. I've always been amazed at that. I was thinking, okay, I want to give you an explanation of what I'm doing here. I originally started out with this 3/4 inch conduit being the conduit that I was going to run everything through, because when I tested it, this would go in here and it works real great. And in the arches, that there's 2 arches that I have that I run through for this, going through it, and I use this. It's about a 7-inch piece and it goes right through. What I had a problem with was this is an 8-foot length, which is just perfect. Well, I needed this diameter, which is bigger than this. I needed it to go into the conduit about 4 inches, and it wouldn't. So I started to look around my shop and at Lowe's, and I had this down at the shop, and it fits this diameter, but it doesn't really allow it to flow real nice. So what I ended up doing was I went up there at the box. This is straight and it doesn't need to flex, and this piece will go in it and have no problem, and it comes right to there, which gives me like 7 extra inches, which is more than I need. And that's what I'm using, is this. And when you see this is going to be nicely sticking into the box up there. And this will allow me to always, if I want, move the light out of the octagon. This will be there, unplug this and pull it and push a new one through. So I never get stuck with, oh, it's stuck in concrete and you can't change it out. I'm going to be able to change it out. So that's what I've done, and I just thought I'd let you know. Getting ready to install that box, and stick with me. I'll show it to you when it gets done. Bye. All right, so I put the electrical box in, and I'm going to get behind on the backside and silicone caulk that to where it's totally waterproof. Secondly, this conduit I can put in now and still get it up in the ceiling. I've used Gorilla Glue there. I stuck it through and used Gorilla Glue, which I moistened this, which is the directions say moisten things that, make it urethane glue cures with moisture. So anyway, I also took a grinder and I grind a ring around this to where I can tie a baling wire around it. It can't slip. I've also put some screws in to where they're not penetrating, but they're biting. And that's going to give me a mechanical bond. I'm going to use a glue mud and mud that right there just to where it can't move. Again, just redundant. This thing is going to be fixed. This one I'll do the same thing to, but it'll be up in the ceiling when I do it. I did as much as I could down here, and then, going to do the rest up in the ceiling, that one. Stick with me. Okay, so I mudded that in, and again, I've got the room in there. I probably didn't need that. When I looked at this and I grabbed this, just gluing of it was good enough, but I just didn't feel like, 3/4 of an inch of surface area of glue would be really strong. So I just bonded this to it, so that's all done. Just gotta let it dry. Tomorrow I'll be sticking that up in the ceiling, getting my conduit ran. Okay, so I've taken the time from the backside to silicone. This box is not waterproof. So I've got one area where the wire is going to go through, and when it does go through from the inside, I'll silicone the wire coming through this hole, but all other areas around this whole entire thing, everything, has been siliconed to close it off so moisture won't get up into the joist area from the shower. The steam shower, more specifically. Okay, so I wanted to get back to where I was. I mudded these up just to secure them to the wall and to the outside edges, make it one. And then I still had a big void in there. And so what I did is I mixed up some styrofoam mud. It was about this thick through the whole arch, and I mudded that in there, let it set up a little bit just so it wouldn't fall. And then I coated it with a 3/4 inch layer of my fiber mud, which again is strength, making this more of a formidable feature. But the reason I went with, and I left a little bit of a void to where about this much of the arch is not full, because I'm going to put mud in there and I'm going to stick a panel up in the arch and finish it. So when I have that wet mud in there, what do I just stand there until it dries? I'm going to be able to screw, because of this layer, I can put a screw through this, screw right through my panel into this and hold it with 3 screws, let it dry overnight, come back, take the screws out, touch it up, you're done. So what I have is a 45 edge on each one of these. The panel itself will have 45s to where when you actually put those panels together, they come to a point where there's minimal gap, like an 1/8 to 1/4, and I usually trowel that with a razor knife. So I'm really getting a great look of casted rock, not something I'm trying to stimple and dimple and make it look like rock. It's the maximum amount of real rock in this look, and it's pristine. So that's going to be done. Short of that, I've got to make I've got to create a panel that has a radius. So I'm taking the arch template that I have, tracing this side of the arch, and making a little table so I can cast a panel that's got that specific radius to it. So I made a little model here. Basically, I'm going to trace that cardboard onto some plywood. So I'm going to have 3 ribs with some blocking to hold it together, sheeted with a piece of cardboard just so the skin will lay on it here. What have I got? 3 panels, 6 inches wide, 18 inches. Say I cast a 20-inch wide by what, 3 foot? I'm not really sure the length of it, but I make this, I set it on the table, I lay my mold over it, I cast. The next day I pick it up, I cut it, I 45 it, I fit it, I make sure it's good, and then I mud it. It's done. So that's going to conclude the arches with a minor bit of touch-up. The other thing, once I've got that done, I'm waiting for my box. The box is got silicone on it, as I showed you earlier. I'm letting that dry. I'm going to fit that up in the ceiling, get the other conduit run into it, finish the conduit down on each side of the door here, and then I can start doing my plaster in the coves here, the double radius plaster. And from there, people, I think I'm just really a matter of touching up the rock, getting it stained, and then putting my specialized rust-stained, rust-colored high-gloss tile run here, stone run, and my stacked stone and my diamonds, and start this shower. So stick with me. One thing in leaving here this video, I don't know if it was this shower that did it or what made my videos start getting really watched, but this last month of my YouTube channel, I've gone up about 5 times what I normally would have. I've had almost 200,000 views in the last 28 days. My subscriber per month went up about 5 times. My income from the channel went up about 5. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my bad produced videos. I wish I had, first of all, more open space. This is really difficult to frame a video in, but not even that. If you look at some of my other videos, I'm not the best person to make videos. I have a passion and I have a unique way of making rock, and I enjoy teaching. I've taught since 1996 and the art of synthetic rock to over 10,000 people. I enjoy what I do, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos. I appreciate you subscribing to my channel and I only get good reviews or comments. I don't have anybody going, oh, you're a dick or whatever. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve, and like I've always done, I put my phone number in the description area. If you need something, you want to talk, you're looking at further training that I do offer, that's my business, is to train people on artificial rock. Give me a call, I'm around. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, share, all that sort of stuff, and just enjoy the wide world of synthetic rock construction.